and there was one particular worrying issue which Liam Rosenior himself identified from the Charlton game, which is relating to one of the particular strengths of Arsenal.
Yeah, so let's take a look here at what Rosenior said about that weakness, which we know is going to be defending set pieces for Chelsea, Arsenal's biggest strength.
They score their first goal from a set play. They're crucial. We need to improve in that aspect as well, whether it's long throws, wide free kicks, corners going into our box. They are the basics that I talk about in football. So yeah, obviously disappointed to concede, but our reaction to conceding today was magnificent. We went up a gear, and that's really, really pleasing part of the game.
So, yeah, Dan, set piece is going to be an interesting point at this game. I think Arsenal have just hired a coach as well. Something to do with taking long throws. I'm not sure exactly what that's about, but
I'm sure he'll have his own mural very soon. Yeah. We'll know more about him then.
God forbid Chelsea have got to defend more long throws. I'm not sure how much more of that I can take.
Yes, is it 4 goals this season? 3 or 4 goals?
Yeah, four goals are conceded from long throws. 2 of them were against Bournemouth, with Antoine Semenyo taking them, who's now joined Man City. I think Chelsea have conceded as many as Man City have taken all season. So I wonder if that will change from a Man City perspective.
And also just throwing it forward slightly more, and the Brentford game on Saturday is sure to test that as well. Yeah. So this is a real. One of the problems Rosenior has got is that the games are coming so thick and fast for Chelsea. Just every 3 or 4 days for the foreseeable future, if they keep winning games and go through in the various competitions, he has not got a lot of time on the training ground to do things. So he's having to be very selective with what he does. But I'd be very surprised if the Chelsea players this week were not spending quite a bit of time on defending set pieces and balls in the air and long throw-ins, because that's where the massive challenge is going to come from. I mean, I sometimes think that maybe if Arsenal do go on to win the Premier League, maybe they should give them the Super Bowl crown, rather, because they're all about the plays and the blocking and all that kind of stuff. It's not really football anymore. But that's a debate for another time.
Yeah. So against Arsenal, it's interesting really, because it doesn't feel like that long ago that we were there. I don't think you were.
I wasn't there. No, I wasn't at the Arsenal game.
Yeah, that I was at Stamford Bridge watching Chelsea against Arsenal, and there's going to be a lot of comparisons, I think, drawn between that game and this one. Obviously, the biggest difference between the two games is who's in the dugout for Chelsea, and that game against Arsenal was obviously one of Maresca's most impressive in charge, because
it's mad to think it was only so few weeks ago.
Yeah, not long ago at all. And Maresca in that game was heavily praised for how he set Chelsea up. It was Reece James in midfield and Caicedo obviously with the early sending off. Reece James was incredible in that game. Won the midfield battle against Declan Rice, which we thought was going to be Caicedo against Rice. It ended up Reece James was the winner. Do you think Rosenior will start Reece James in midfield in this one?
I wouldn't be surprised, especially as both he and Malo Gusto missed the Charlton game. I think, given that the tactic worked under Maresca, I would be very surprised if it were not Gusto at right back and James in midfield. Obviously, fitness permitting. If there are doubts, strong as Reece James is, you do not want to take any any chances with him. And and if Malo Gusto isn't right, then maybe we'll see Josh Acheampong again there. But I think the physicality of Reece James in midfield could be really, really important, because it's not just Rice. They've got both Mainoo and Zubimendi, although different heights. They are tough players, quite almost in the image of their manager and Arteta. Arteta is not a tall guy, but he was pretty. He got about the pitch well, and he was pretty strong. He punched above his weight, and the whole Arsenal team are very big and very physical, and you need your strongest, most physical players if you're going to earn the right to play against them.
And how about Esteval? Because I thought, obviously, under Maresca, he wasn't used perhaps as much as fans would have liked to see him. But when he came on against Charlton, he looked really, really good. Won the penalty, created a bunch of chances, couldn't quite put the ball in the back of the net. But I actually, personally, I'd really like to see him and Gittins start on either wing. And I think that could be, if they're going to play this front-footed attacking style, I think him and Gittins could be perfect. Maybe more longer term, as those wing options, we'll have to wait and see in that sense. And
I think you're going to be disappointed though, because I would be amazed if Neto having not played at the week, if Neto doesn't start. Because I think I know what you're saying and what a lot of Chelsea players are saying, and we want to see more Esteval. But you have to, with players that young, who've never been in this country before. You have to give them a little bit of time to adapt, and you have to manage their game time and manage the expectations. And in fact, as happened against Charlton, Esteval's done really well coming on, and I think we did a piece earlier this year about Pedro Neto when he was growing up and he was doing his roller hockey. He was a footballer. He was known as the atomic mouse. He just kept on running. And I think one of the reasons why, the big reason why Esteval's been able to make such an impression when he's come off the bench is because the defenders have been absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
So they've been up against Neto for the previous hour or 70 minutes or whatever it's been. So much as people would like to see more of Esteval, I think, given the number of games that are coming up, there will be times where he is going to start games. But in a game of this size, where you're 2 games away from a cup final, Neto's going to be starting, surely.
I think I also wouldn't be surprised necessarily to see Neto on the left and Esteval on the right, or
potentially.
Gittins obviously played on the right in the game against Charlton and then moved over to the left. So it's going to be interesting, I think, Chelsea's wing pairing in that one. And the last thing we're going to get onto and speak about is the January window, because it's been a very quiet January so far, and we've obviously both spoken to the club and we're expecting a quiet January compared to the summer where Chelsea tend to do most of their investments. I think you
so that one record-breaking winter transfer window, but with Mudryk and everybody else. But apart from that, they don't tend to want to. No teams want to do it because normally it's a sign of desperation,
a panic. Yeah. And do you think? Obviously, well, we've said there already that Rosenior won't necessarily be massively backed in January, but do you think he will want to be backed? Because the thing that springs to mind is, remember when Maresca said he kind of wanted a centre-back, and then it came out that actually...
You're not getting one, son.
Yeah, you're not going to get one.
Bad luck.
I wonder what Rosenior wants from the ownership in terms of being backed financially, and what kind of positions do you think he needs to strengthen in the Chelsea squad?
I think if you ask Chelsea fans, a lot of them will still say centre forward, but because of his experience working with Liam Delap, I'm pretty sure that the sporting directors will be hoping that he can bring the best out of him. And then if Guiu is able to chip in and start the odd game, and João Pedro is able to manage his injury and stay fit, that's probably might not be a priority area. We've also talked about the midfield area, where essentially so far this season, obviously Reece James has been playing in there, but in terms of trying to give rests to Enzo Fernandez or Moises Caicedo, it's come down to Andre Santos, and I didn't feel that Andre Santos again had a great game at the weekend, particularly in the first half. There were a lot of passes, and they weren't difficult passes. They were quite routine passes going astray, and I don't know whether he's trying too hard or what it is. But I think again, one thing that may mitigate against the idea of making a signing in this window in midfield is that Dario Sugo was actually back on the bench at the weekend. And again, a young player of whom they had high hopes. We've seen so little of him because of his injury. And I think again that the sporting directors will be saying to Rosenior, well, you've got him back now. You've got the cover there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea did nothing significant in this transfer window in terms of players to come in and be in the first 11 or be pushing for that. I think it's more likely that they may surprise us with another South American signing, someone who's going to join in 2052, who's someone who hasn't even been born yet that they've signed or something. But I don't expect it to be unless someone absolutely fantastic became available. If a strike, I'm not even sure who, but if a striker became available on loan terms, then maybe they would do that. But I think also when we're looking forward to the summer, there are going to be some players coming back from loan, particularly from Strasbourg, who will very much alter or very much enhance the options that Rosenior has, and then we'll see more movement both in and out of Chelsea, I think.
I'm going to take my jumper off so that I can give my thoughts on a player that I would actually love to see at Chelsea in January, although it looks a bit less likely now.
Yeah. There he is. Kobbie Mainoo. I can't believe it. It's not long ago when he was the answer to not just Manchester United's midfield problems, but the answer to England's midfield problems at the Euros, where Southgate tried various combinations with Declan Rice, and finally it was when Kobbie Mainoo came in and played that things started to click a bit better. Yeah, it's looking less less likely now. Again, if they were given any encouragement and there was there was no obligation to buy, then I think Kobbie Mainoo would make would be a great one to get in, even allowing for Asuga coming back from injury. But I'm not sure United would let him go without some pretty stringent terms. And now that we think that they're on the cusp of appointing a new interim manager, the latest interim manager in probably Michael Carrick, he's going to want to look at him. Obviously, Mainoo played, albeit in the latest humiliating defeat for Manchester United, but he got onto the pitch. And if you're trying to build goodwill with a fan base at United, which is on the point of rebellion, then you want to start getting the best out of your homegrown players and the great traditions of the club.
Yeah, I think it's a shame really from a Chelsea perspective, because I think had Amorim stayed a little bit longer, we could have seen that really become a possibility of Mainoo at Chelsea, and I think he would have been so good for Chelsea. But I have to say now it's not looking as likely now that they'll get that new manager, like you said, and he'll probably back Mainoo and he'll continue to thrive at Man United and get back to his best. I love that picture. I think it was during the Euros where he's up on the screen and it says "God Save the King" next to Kobbie Mainoo. That's one of my favourite footballing images. So although obviously the t-shirt is great, I think it's looking less likely now. But some things that are confirmed for the summer is that Liam Rosenior will be linking back up with, like you said, a few Strasbourg players, one of which is likely to be Mike Penders, Mamadou Sarr and Emmanuel Omega, the three of them all rejoining, I suppose, Chelsea in the summer. How do you think he integrates them and gets the best out of those players? Do you think they kind of come straight in? Omega, we don't really know what to expect.
Yeah,
from
with
him,
Omega, another reason why it'll be unlikely that they'll sanction a permanent signing of a striker in this window is because they know they've got Omega coming back.
Yeah.
Who knows how someone who's done pretty well or very well at times in Ligue 1, how that is going to translate to the Premier League. But he will at least be very good backup for Liam Delap or whoever they feel is going to be the front man. I think the most interesting potential here is with Penders, because we were having a discussion earlier on with our tactics guru, head of sport, Dean Scoggins, and he was telling us about the heat map for Mike Penders at Strasbourg, and his most common position is actually outside of his penalty area.
He's basically a centre back.
He's basically an old fashioned sweeper. He's a genuine sweeper keeper, and when he comes back from Strasbourg, I expect him, maybe not immediately, it'll depend how Sanchez gets on for the rest of the season, but because of the way Rosenior likes to play and how well he played at Strasbourg with Penders as that in that role, you would be amazed if he didn't think, right, when I've got a whole summer of pre-season to work on this with Penders and my defenders, then it really will be game on for that who's going to be first choice Chelsea goalkeeper.